Ever wonder how ruthless pirates managed to maintain order aboard their chaotic ships? Despite their lawless reputations, many pirate crews followed a surprisingly structured set of rules known as the Pirate Code. Far from being a myth or mere Hollywood invention, these codes help pirates govern themselves, distribute loot fairly, and keep peace among a diverse and often volatile crew. For most people, the word pirate conjures images of lawless rogues, wild and unruly, plundering ships with no regard for authority. But history tells a different story. Among the legends of the high seas lies a surprising truth. These pirate codes were not mere myths or Hollywood inventions. They were real, written, and agreed upon by crews who sought to bring order to their chaotic world. Here, we'll explore the origins, contents, and impact of the Pirate Code, revealing how outlaws at sea created one of the earliest examples of democratic governance. In the golden age of piracy, spanning roughly from 1650 to 1730, thousands of men and women abandoned the rigid, often brutal structures of naval or merchant life and turned to piracy. Far from being anarchic, pirate life required cooperation, structure, and mutual understanding. The Pirate Code, sometimes referred to as the Articles of Agreement, was the foundation upon which this alternative society rested. The origins are rooted in necessity rather than ideology. In the late 17th and early 18th centuries, the life of a sailor, especially in the Navy or merchant marine, was harsh. Poor pay, brutal discipline, and authoritarian command structures led many sailors to mutiny. Those who turned to piracy were not just chasing treasure. They were rejecting the tyranny of traditional maritime hierarchies. Pirates, though criminals by legal standards, often saw themselves as liberated men with a chance to shape their own destinies. In this context, the Pirate Code emerged as a solution to the challenges of organizing a crew made up of outlaws. These were people who, despite their backgrounds, still needed rules to govern everything from dividing plunder to resolving disputes and electing leaders. The codes brought order to what might otherwise have been chaos. The earliest known codes were attributed to pirates like Bartholomew Roberts and Edward Lowe. These codes were not universal. Each ship typically drafted its own set of articles, agreed upon, and signed by every crew member. If a sailor disagreed with the code, they could choose not to join the crew or be put ashore. This act of mutual consent was revolutionary. Governance not imposed from above, but negotiated among equals. Pirate codes varied from ship to ship, but common themes consistently appeared. Among the most important were rules concerning the division of loot. Pirate crews typically divided plunder according to rank and role. The captain and quartermaster might receive multiple shares, while ordinary crew received one. Injuries were also compensated. Losing an arm or a leg could result in a substantial payout, showing the value placed on the welfare of comrades. Behavior aboard the ship was regulated as well. Fighting among crew members was often forbidden and punishable by marooning or death. Gambling was restricted as it caused tension. Lights-out times were enforced to prevent accidents and promote discipline. Musical instruments were encouraged, suggesting that pirates also valued morale and entertainment. Leadership was elected. The captain had to be chosen by vote and could be deposed if the crew lost confidence. The quartermaster, who represented the interests of the crew, often wielded more influence than the captain when not in battle. This democratic system help balance power and prevent tyranny. Pirates were notorious for their violence, but they also practiced their own form of justice. Crimes like theft from fellow crew members, cowardice in battle, or betrayal of the ship were punished severely. The code provided consistency in how these offences were judged, ensuring that punishment was not arbitrary. Marooning, a punishment where offenders were left on a deserted island with minimal provisions, was one of the most feared penalties. It was a death sentence in many cases, but it offered a slim chance of survival, making it more humane than immediate execution. Lesser offences could result in flogging, fines, or temporary loss of shares. This system of internal regulation helped maintain cohesion among a group of individuals who had little to lose and everything to gain. It was not justice in the modern sense, but it was justice by the standards of the pirate world, swift, clear, and often brutal. Pirate articles were also more flexible. They adapted to the crew's needs and could be revised by consensus. This adaptability was crucial in maintaining morale and cohesion. While pirate life was dangerous and illegal, it was, in some respects, more just than the systems it opposed. Several surviving pirate codes offer a window into this world. Bartholomew Roberts, perhaps the most successful pirate of the Golden Age, had one of the most detailed sets of articles. His code included rules against gambling, strict curfews, compensation for injuries, and requirements for keeping weapons clean and ready. Captain John Phillips' articles, captured in 1724, included clauses against drunkenness during battle, theft, and the bringing of women aboard. Seen as potential sources of division, Edward Lowe, known for his cruelty, also maintained a code to prevent internal strife. These codes were often recorded in ship logs or passed down through oral tradition. While some may have been embellished over time, historians agree that they reflect a real effort to create stable governance within pirate communities. Hollywood has long romanticized pirate codes, often portraying them as vague guidelines rather than actual rules. In truth, pirate codes were detailed, enforceable, and deeply respected by crews. The romantic image of pirates as free-spirited rebels belies the reality of a highly structured, rules-based system designed for survival and success. The myth may entertain, but the reality is far more impressive. The pirate code was one of the earliest forms of democratic governance outside of state control. In an era dominated by monarchy and rigid class hierarchies, pirates practiced elected leadership, majority voting, and shared decision-making. Every man had a voice and a stake in the venture. This proto-democracy was born out of necessity, but it also reflected Enlightenment ideals that would later influence revolutions and political thought. Pirates, in their own way, were early practitioners of collective governance, and their ships were floating experiments in democracy. This made pirate ships more than criminal enterprises. They showed that ordinary men could govern themselves, share power, and hold leaders accountable. In doing so, pirates inadvertently anticipated many principles of modern democracy. As piracy declined in the early 18th century, the pirate code also faded into history. The rise of privateers and state-sanctioned piracy blurred the lines between legal and illegal maritime activity. Many pirates were captured and executed, their codes forgotten or destroyed. Yet, their legacy lived on, in books, songs, and the imaginations of generations to come. The idea of pirates as rogue democrats, bound by a code of honor, continues to inspire even today. In modern culture, the pirate code has been resurrected as a symbol of freedom and rebellion. From novels to video games, it reminds us that even in the darkest corners of history, there were those who sought justice and order, even if it flew beneath the black flag. While the pirate code emphasized rules aboard the ship, its influence extended beyond discipline. It defined an entire way of life. Pirate society, though feared and reviled by the world's empires, was one of the few environments where rank, birth, and social class meant little. A runaway slave, a disgraced sailor, a disillusioned soldier. On a pirate ship, they could all find equality, or at least a better shot at it than anywhere on land. The code acted as a great equalizer. Captains were held accountable, and decisions about raids, punishments, or even when to retire from piracy were made collectively. This radical notion of equality, while not perfect, was centuries ahead of its time in some respects. In an era where monarchs ruled by divine right, pirates chose their own leaders and could remove them by vote. The economic structure under the pirate code also reveals much about their priorities. Traditional naval ships paid their sailors poorly, with wages often delayed or withheld. By contrast, pirates ensured a transparent division of spoils. Everyone knew their share, and everyone had the opportunity to earn more by proving themselves in combat or loyalty. Shares were often allocated with remarkable fairness. Extra for those performing dangerous roles like boarding parties or shipwrights, and penalties or reductions for poor performance or misconduct. Injury compensation was codified in many ships. It was brutal, but it was also a kind of workers' insurance plan. Again, well ahead of its time. And then there was the issue of loyalty. Pirate crews, perhaps surprisingly, valued loyalty above most things. Betrayal of the crew, desertion, or informing on comrades were some of the worst crimes under pirate codes, punishable by death. This emphasis on loyalty helped bind together men from diverse backgrounds, ensuring unity when facing enemies on the open sea. Pirates also dealt with disputes internally. Instead of military tribunals, many ships used informal courts where the quartermaster or a small panel would hear grievances. Resolutions ranged from public apologies to financial penalties, flogging, or in severe cases, expulsion. This system wasn't just efficient, it gave everyone a voice and reinforced that justice, however brutal, was not arbitrary. Even pirate alliances had codes. When multiple crews formed fleets, such as during attacks on heavily defended ports or treasure fleets, they agreed on temporary codes governing behavior, loot sharing, and authority structures. One of the most famous examples was the loose confederation of pirates in Nassau, in the Bahamas, where at its height, over 1,000 pirates lived, operated, and governed themselves. They treated the island as neutral ground, and their mutual respect for agreed-upon codes prevented major infighting. This pirate republic, though short-lived, became a symbol of pirate autonomy. Even pirates, who weren't well known in legend, made lasting contributions to the structure and spirit of the code. Men like Charles Vane, Jack Rackham, known as Calico Jack, and the fearsome Blackbeard Roberts helped spread practices that solidified the norms of pirate governance. Interestingly, the legacy of the pirate code found echoes in later seafaring organizations. Merchant guilds, naval unions, and even early democratic movements borrowed ideas about representation, compensation, and discipline that mirrored pirate practices. It's ironic, but not altogether surprising, that criminals outside the law pioneered some of the world's earliest labor and democratic rights at sea. Their legacy endures not because they were heroes, they certainly weren't, but because, in the most desperate, dangerous conditions, they chose to build a society where every man had a stake. The black flag didn't just symbolize rebellion. It represented a form of radical order. And perhaps that's why the pirate code fascinates us still today. It was a paradox, written by criminals, enforced by thieves, but respected like scripture aboard ships where chaos could be fatal. It proved that even the lawless understood the need for law. In doing so, pirates etched their own form of civilization into history's margins. The pirate code offers a striking counterpoint to the conventional narrative of pirates as lawless criminals. Instead, we see a society that valued fairness, democracy, and discipline, even if it thrived in the shadow of violence and theft. In crafting their own rules, pirates laid the groundwork for communities built on shared values and collective agreement. They may have sailed outside the law, but they were never truly without it. The pirate code remains a remarkable testament to how order can emerge even in the most unlikely of places, on the high seas, flying the black flag. Thank you for coming along this pirate journey with me. Sleep well. Good night.